In using similar figures, we take what we learned last lesson about similar figures, that they have equal angle measures and proportional side lengths, and we use that information to find missing measurements. So in finding unknown measures in similar figures, we are given that triangle ABC is similar to triangle JKL. So to find the missing measures, if you look down here, we do not know the side length of KL. And if you'll take a good look at these triangles, you'll see that they are also reflections of each other, that KL is corresponding to BC. So in order to do this, to find those missing measures, you're first going to write a proportion using corresponding sides. We're going to let the blue ink represent the smaller rectangle and the red ink represent the larger rectangle. Side AB corresponds to side KJ. So I'll put those measurements in. 8/28. Then the other side that we're wanting to know, KL, corresponds to BC. So BC goes on top, KL goes on bottom. A good thing to remember whenever you're setting up these proportions, if you're going to have the smaller figure on top for the first ratio, you have to have the smaller figure on top for the second ratio as well. You wouldn't want to flip that, otherwise you're not going to come up with the right value. BC's side length is 12 and KL's side length is X. That's the part that we're wanting to know. So now it's a proportion that I can solve. I'm going to cross multiply to solve that proportion. 8 times X and 28 times 12. 8 times X is 8X. 28 times 12 is 336. I want to isolate that variable, so I undo multiplying by 8 by dividing by 8 on both sides, and X equals 42 centimeters. A measurement application could be this. A volleyball court is a similar rectangle to an Olympic-sized pool. Find the width of the pool. So the smaller one is the volleyball court, the bottom one, the larger one, is the swimming pool. And I have the measurements of those rectangles. So as we did in the previous board, we're going to write a proportion in order to solve this. So we're going to start by putting 9 over, try to color code these for you, X. Or actually, I'll just go ahead and use a question mark because that's what's down here. So I have the smaller rectangle on top. So over here, I'm going to have 18 over 50. On each one, I have the smaller rectangle on top, the larger rectangle on bottom. Now that I have proportion, I can cross multiply in order to solve this. 9 times 50 is 450 equals 18 times the part that I don't know, or you could have substituted a variable. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 18 to undo what's happening to the variable. 450 divided by 18 is 25. So the width of the pool would be in meters. It would be 25 meters. Hope I wasn't in the way too much for that. Okay, so you try it now for the practice. Find the missing measurements of each pair of similar figures, and notice we are also finding an angle measure. So think about what you know about the angle measures in similar figures in addition to the side lengths of similar figures. Okay, for practice A, we're needing to know the side length A and the angle measure B. Well, if you've noticed on the smaller triangle, it's an isosceles triangle, that the two sides are going to be equal. So from that, we know that A is going to be 20. If you set it up in the proportion, 12 corresponds to 20, 12 corresponds to A. And so 20 is the only thing that can go in for A to make those equivalent. And what you should have remembered is that on similar figures, their angle measures are equivalent, so I just have to find the corresponding angle to B to find its measure, which was 40 degrees. For practice B, we are looking at two quadrilaterals. For X, that was the angle measure. It's the bottom left. It corresponds to this 40-degree angle, so X equals 40 degrees. Then for Y, it's corresponding to this 4 up here, so I put 4 over Y, and then I chose another set of corresponding sides. I chose the top of it, so 10 over 15. There's my proportion. 4Y equals 10 over 15. Cross multiply. 4 times 15 is 60. Y times 10 is 10Y. Divide both sides by 10, and you get Y is equal to 6.